we thank Professor Dr. Esra Gencturk for her speech. And as our rector mentioned, today we are happy to have a short but very selected list of representatives from the academia and from the air transport industry, from Turkey and abroad. Before we start, I would like to give you a brief information about today's agenda. We will have 5 individual presentations, and then we are going to have 1 round table. And in between, in order for you not to fall asleep, we will have 1 coffee break in between the presentations. And at the end, our director of School of Aviation will close the seminar. And after each presentation, we will have question and answer sessions. So please, while listening to the presentations, you may prepare your questions to challenge our great speakers. So now I would like to introduce you our first guest speaker, Mehmet Erkan Dursun. He has an air transport management background and he has been involved in the aviation industry for more than 15 years with a deep knowledge of Turkish aviation market. And now he works as an aviation solutions manager at IATA, International Air Transport Association. So welcome, Mehmet Erkan Dursun.
Oh, it's silence. Scare me every time. Good afternoon, very distinguished guests. Good afternoon, all students and the professionals. I'm actually very proud and happy to be here because I'm so excited as well because I'll do my presentation in front of our next generation aviation managers. I'm seeing I believe that lots of aviation managers will educate here, and it's very proud. For the ones who coming from abroad, also welcome to our beautiful country, and hope you're enjoying during your stay. Start with agenda. Actually, I believe that most of you doing some exercises, some gym. And my presentation is a kind of warm-up presentation for the upcoming ones. I'll try to warm you up about the upcoming presentation. Because I believe that in order to get a better understanding of an air transport industry in specific country, you need to understand the dynamics and the features of the country very well. That's why I'm trying to emphasize these characteristics today, and I will shortly inform you about how air transport development in our country over the last 20 years. And I'm going to talk about geography of Turkey and demographic characteristics, economy, tourism, industry development, and I will finish with conclusion, and I will answer your question if you have. As all you know, Turkey is located very center of the world. It's in between Europe, Asia, and Africa, and and it's a huge country. It's the 37th huge country in the world, and the 3rd huge country in Europe. And after Russia and Kazakhstan. And it gives you some advantages in order to develop an international hub in terms of aviation industry. Actually, in addition to its size, the country also has its own advantage because the country has a big population, and it's almost 78 million in population, and the 18th most populated country in the world, and 3rd most populated country in Europe. And we have 20 provinces, more than 1 million population, and in 7 provinces more than 2 million population, which is good for domestic market. And as you see, the population is grew very rapidly, and more importantly, the median age of Turkey is around 30 years old, which gives us a high potential for the airline passengers. And over the next 40 years, the population also will stay young, and which is very important for the country. And there are lots of hubs all around the world. There are big hubs like Dubai, Doha, Abu Dhabi, Singapore. They're all big hubs, but those hubs actually doesn't have a potential like Istanbul, because we have our own domestic market, which is much higher than any another hub in the world. And economy also is very important, because as all you know, the air transportation industry of the one country is affected by its GDP. And generally speaking, we can say that the air transport industry may grow 1.5 to 2 times of GDP, but this ratio is over the last 12 years, it's more than 3 in our country. And as you see, the Turkey GDP and GDP per capita grow very rapidly over the last 12 years. And also, it will be growth over the next 5 years according to the IMF estimates as well. And export and import also another factor that affect the industry. And these both grow more than 12% over the last 10 years as well. But actually, I would like to get you an attention about something different and something nobody say during the lots of presentation. We need to be aware of that. Our GDP share of the world total has been still stable over the last 20 years, which is around 1.4% of the GDP share of world total, which this figure says us that we need to work harder and harder, because in terms of maybe GDP or GDP per capita, we are growing, but the world also is growing like us. And we need to work harder in order to overcome this situation. And tourism is another factor. Miss Graham said that I came here 35 years ago as a tourist. And over the last maybe 10 years, Turkey is one of the biggest tourism market in the world. Actually, our tourist number increased more than 35 million. And we will be one of the 6 largest, biggest tourism destination in the world. And our number of tourists international tourists increased from 14 million to almost 36 million, with a compound annual growth rate of 9.1. And also, the tourism revenues is good for the current account deficit of Turkey, because we have a big problem for current account deficit. And also, one of the advantage of the Turkey is we have 5 million citizens residing abroad. This is a huge potential for the airlines. And also, our government tried to do some removing some visa restriction, which facilitate and which also help to increase the number of tourists during the years. And in addition to do that, I can say that we have a big potential of the Congress tourism, health and golf tourism. We still not what we want, what we expect, but we have a big potential because of our climate, because of our infrastructure. We have great infrastructure in Antalya, but still we are not using it more productively. And in this session also, I'll try to tell you something the bad as well, because although we have a 36 million tourists, our average tourism receipts per tourist is quite low when you compare with the other ones. When we look at the first 10 tourism destinations, our actually average tourism receipt per tourist about $740, which is much lower than US, Thailand, Germany, and the biggest tourism destination. which affect us very negatively as well. We need to focus on these as well, because it's very important for the tourism industry. And air transport industry. And from 92 to 2003, actually, I'm quite young. I've been in high school, maybe primary school at that time. But in 1992 to 2003, we don't have a big potential. We have only, until 2003, we have only 9 million domestic passenger and 25 million international passenger. And the average growth rate is about 5 to 7% different in the years. But after 2003, actually, something happened very good. And because our government gave a vision about the deregulation of the domestic market. And the vision is every Turkish citizens will fly at least once in their lifetime, which highly affect the industry over the last 12 years. Because the country's vision always affect the air transport industry, as we can see in Turkey and as we can see in Gulf carriers, Gulf countries. And so, in 2003 to 2014, the air transport passenger developed very rapidly. And actually, until that time, until 2003, Turkish Airlines was the only carrier who can fly within the domestic routes. But afterwards, after 2003, private airlines also became a partner of this game. And the number of passengers increased rapidly, more than 23% for the domestic market, which is one of the fastest growing domestic airline industry in the world. And it all, of course, it's all effect from the GDP per capita, because after a certain point of GDP per capita, you can see the development of the market very rapidly. This actually graph shows the correlation between GDP per capita and the number of domestic passengers. And as I can say that domestic trip per population is also very important. In 2003, we have only 0.07 domestic trip per population. But after 2003, it grows rapidly. And now it's very, very likely to European Union figures. But we are still lots of things to do. We are still lots of way to go, actually. And the international market. And as you know, international market in Turkey actually managing by the bilateral agreements. And we have only 81 bilateral agreements in 2003. And the government also tried to increase these bilateral agreements with the different countries. And the bilateral agreements increased from 81 to 161 over the last 12 years. This also affected the industry very well, because when you have a lot of bilateral agreements, you have a right to fly there, and you are also attract some incoming flight as well. And this is very important for the international market. And Istanbul Airport. We're talking today about Istanbul Airport. Maybe you know that the Istanbul Airport this year is the biggest fourth airport in Europe. And what about the others? The other ones is quite mature. When you look at the growth rate over the last 10 years, you can see this figure. The Istanbul Airport increased almost 12% annual over the last 12 years. When you're comparing with the others, the closest one is the Amsterdam Schiphol Airport with 2.5%, which can actually give us and which can actually get an attention from all over the world. And in order to actually overcome the demand, and Turkish government started some build, operate, and transfer project over the last 12 years as well. And we successfully, the government successfully actually finished the 7 BOT project, and today we are talking with 150 million capacity third airport project in Istanbul. And the Turkish Airlines, actually I'd like to mention about Turkish Airlines as well, because without its vision, we cannot see these figures. And I think it's important to mention something about the Turkish Airlines. And I would like to brief you about Turkish Airlines as well. This figure, actually, this table shows some of the fastest growing airline in the world. And Turkish Airlines is the 5th fastest growing airline in the world with almost 16.3 compound annual growth rate in terms of passenger. And the other ones, as you see, from China, from Brazil, and from Qatar, and the Gulf carriers. This actually shows how we grow over the last 10, 12 years as well. And according to the IATA estimates, this year there are 3.3 billion passengers in the world, and comparing to 2003, it's almost double. In 2003, about 1.7 billion. And in 2003, Turkish Airlines is only 10 million passengers. But when you come to 2014, it's 55 million, and it's growing a lot. And when you look at the global share, our global share is increased from 0.6% to 1.7%. And how we can do that? How the Turkish Airlines did this? Of course, the location of Istanbul Ataturk Airport is quite important because you can actually reach the 40% of the worldwide international traffic with narrow-body aircraft, which is one of the competitive advantages of Turkish Airlines. And they can reach 55 national capitals. They can reach almost all Europe, Middle East, Central Asia, and North and East Africa with just narrow-body aircraft, which no airline can do that. And I'll try to give some the brief information about how they developed their hub configuration, because it's important for an airline. As you see, actually, maybe this graph doesn't show you something especially for the students, but I can tell you that all the colors represent a geographical area. For example, the purple represents Europe, red represents domestic and Middle East, Far East, Africa, and America. And below the line, you can see the arrivals. And above the line, you can see the departure, number of departure passengers. Actually, I can pick 1 week of July to represent the Turkish Airlines hub configuration. And this is for 2003, for Turkish Airlines hub configuration in 2003. As you see, there are 4 waves. You can see the waves, the sum of the routes. Can I use this? Yeah. Some of the routes feed the other routes, because this is incoming passengers and this is the departing passengers. It shows us the passenger from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., they are coming from domestic, or they are coming from Middle East, and they are coming from Far East. And this wave actually feed the Turkish Airlines Europe routes and domestic routes. As you see, there are 4 waves. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when you come to the 2014, this wave is increased a lot. You know, one of the disadvantages to do a hub configuration is you can, when you fly point to point, you can increase your aircraft utilization, because your aircraft has not have to stay at the ground during the connection, because of the connection. But when you increase the waves, like Turkish Airlines, you can give some, the better connection, plus you also increase the aircraft utilization as well. And it's very important. And also the other important thing is there are very, very important competitive advantages for Turkish Airlines for this wave. Because what? All the European carriers actually cannot fly during the night. And the Turkish Airlines actually can fly. During from midnight to 1 a.m., the Turkish Airlines actually fly especially to Middle East and Far East. And they can use the third slot during the night and it affects their aircraft utilization a lot. Not only aircraft utilization, also personal productivity for cabin and cockpit crew utilization as well. And when you use your aircraft much and you have a cost competitive advantages over their rivals. And this flight coming to Istanbul during the morning, as you can see here, and then they can feed all European flights during the morning. This is actually one of the crucial competitive advantages of Turkish Airlines, and they can fly with narrow bodies, and they can feed their hub during the morning and during the night as well. And this is actually one of the crucial factor becoming Istanbul Ataturk Airport as a hub for Turkish. So, I can conclude that we have a strong growth in domestic and international market over the last 12 years. And we have huge capacity increase with build, operate, and transfer project since 2003. But the airport capacity is still a bottleneck because Turkish Airlines has lots of order, and the Ataturk Airport and the Sabiha Gökçen Airport is still now currently they are in the limit, and they need more capacity. And I believe that our third airport colleague will successfully finish the airport in 2017. And lack of qualified person also very important. And we trust you guys. We trust the new students, and we trust the universities that feed the industry, because it's one of the crucial element. Because actually aircraft cannot fly without human. That's important. Somebody has to take it and somebody has to fly with it. And of course, I don't want to deep into detail, but the euro dollar and dollar Turkish lira parity also is very important for the airlines, for the airports. And politics also very important. And also liberalization of the market can affect the future of our industry as well. And we have Gulf trade, and they are working very hard as well. They are working very, very hard. Emirates, Qatar, and Etihad all have a big vision. And they are trying to, they actually did it, but they are increasing their capacity very rapidly. And they are actually employing lots of people all around the world. And they have very professional the managers. And that's why these students has to work a lot. You cannot compare yourself with your classmates, because if the Istanbul Ataturk Airport is a new international airport, it's the one of the biggest international airport in the world, you should compare yourself with the world, not within the Turkey. I'm very thank you for all students and all guests. Thank you very much, and I will answer your question if you have. Thank you.
Mehmet Erkan Dursun for your great presentation. And yes, it's time for questions. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands and my friends will bring you the microphone, and so you can ask. Yes, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Just to warm up the questions, I will go ahead. You mentioned that in order to achieve high goals, we need to work hard, and you were giving some suggestions to the students to work hard. But any clue? Because I have them in the class, some of them, and I try to tell them very often, but I don't know if I am successful. So any suggestion in this concern?
Actually, today I talked with Dr. Küçükkanal as well. And I came to Istanbul when I was in third grade, I think, which is one of the best mistake I ever do. Because I believe that when you're in Istanbul, you can come to airport, you can come to Çelebi, you can come to Havaş, you can come to any airline, and you can feel, and you can at least try to do something within the industry. Because you need to see how airport ground handling handle their passenger. You need to see all the details. Otherwise, you cannot see anything within the books. You can actually learn lots of things from the books, but you need to feel it. You need to talk with the people. You need to see an aircraft. In the first day of actually, when I was an intern, and somebody actually showed me the tow bar and asked me, what is it? And I said that, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You need to see tow bar, pushback, you know. You can stay at the airport during the night and you can see how the baggage handlers loading the aircraft.
You mentioned that Turkey is going to be a hub for this region, like Europe and Asia and Africa. But how are we going to compete with, you said we are going to compete with Dubai or Doha. And is it really, like, do you think that we're going to be able to have this in Istanbul? My first question. And related to that, what is the criteria for becoming a hub?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's great. And for the first question, I definitely believe so. And Turkey can become one of the biggest hub in the world. But we have some problem. I think one of the biggest problem is bottleneck of airport capacity. We are handling, I think last year we are handling 59.5 million passengers in Istanbul Ataturk Airport, which is a miracle. Because when you look at the airport capacity, handling 60 million passengers a year is a miracle. And for the geographical location, we have much better location when you compare with Doha, when you compare with Dubai or Abu Dhabi. Of course, they have a vision. But for example, when you compare with Emirates, they have only the wide-body aircraft. And the wide-body aircraft, you can fly somewhere when there is a demand. For example, the A380 or 777 is more than 350 passenger capacity. And you can fly somewhere if there's enough demand. But the Turkish Airlines using 737-800, which is 165 passenger capacity, and they can feed Istanbul Ataturk Airport as a hub. And they can actually produce much more frequency, which is important for the transfer passenger, because when you use, for example, 777, you can add one frequency, but if you use the 737, you can add two frequency, which is good for the transfer passengers. But we should be very careful over the next 2-3 years, because if the passenger believe that the Turkish airport, Istanbul Ataturk Airport, is problematic, they don't want to fly with Turkish, because it's important for them as well. We need to be very careful about delays, other disruptions, because otherwise everybody can escape from the airport. I think one of the biggest challenge for Turkish Airlines over the next 2-3 years. Yeah. Thank you.